about to go deep with Dan Good.
Andrew, what's going on, brother?
Danny, not that much, man. Well, I suppose it's a bit of a lie, I guess. I suppose there's a bit going
You got
on.
a lot going on, man. Come on, don't be modest.
Oh, well, you're a bit shy, first time being interviewed.
Well, there's one way to do that. Cheers, man.
Cheers. Good to see you.
You too, brother. Some nice organic Shiraz there.
Yeah, that is nice. Yes. Well, that's a good start. Yeah.
So what do you got on at the moment? You're doing a theatre production?
Yeah, I'm just working on a play. At the moment, had two shows. Yesterday had a matinee and an evening show.
Yeah.
Last night, Fortitude Valley. So yeah, it's just sort of like the first day off in probably about like 4 or 5 days or so. So yeah, like a little bit sluggish, but like it's been going really, really well so far. Like we've had some really fantastic reviews and it just seems to be getting better with each passing show. So
yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
So what's the play called?
It's called The Laramie Project. There was a movie, so it was a play written in like 2000, and there was a movie adapted from it. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't actually, no.
So yeah, it's about this, it's a very serious play. It's about this town in Wyoming in the USA, where in 1998 there was a gay university student who one night whilst he was basically out at one of the local pubs, he was chatting to these two guys and they thought it was like a bit of a joke. They thought that they'd teach him a lesson for coming on to straight people. Yeah. And so what they did is they wound up taking him away to this isolated spot, and basically they tied him to a fence and beat him and tortured him and robbed him. And he eventually passed away as a result of that. But the sort of the aftermath of it received quite a lot of media attention in the US as well as worldwide. And so about 2 years after the incident happened, this theatre company from New York traveled to the town of Laramie, and they interviewed about 200 people who are involved in some way or another, or knew the victim, or knew the defendants in the case. And they wrote a play sort of based off everyone they interviewed's own words. So it is quite a serious play, and even just trying to think about it right now and trying to think of how to put it into words.
Yeah. Sounds quite heavy, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is. It is really heavy. But I also think I do think it's like a very excellent play as well. Cause it's, I know, so sort of in my experience with plays and movies and everything else, I suppose I've always done stuff that's been, I suppose you go to see it for the entertainment factor. And with this is probably the first show I've really done that's had quite a socially conscious meaning to it. And even though it is 2021 right now, and there's obviously there's been a lot of change since 1998. This is still a bit of a socially divisive subject, but at the same time, I think it's also the thing I've really found on working on the Laramie Project is I think it does a really excellent job of sort of, I wouldn't say presenting every side of an argument in terms of, not an argument, but opinions on divisive subjects. But I think it does a really good job of capturing sort of a multitude of views and and representing that in relation to sort of the gay rights movement. And I think it's still and I think the reason why it's still being performed today and why I think it's still relevant today
is... for sure, yeah. Couldn't be more relevant probably, really, with everything these days, Yeah,
well, I think in 2021 at the moment, I think sort of with the rise of social media, I feel like we've sort of... 1998 was a completely different time. I mean, it was like the early stages of the internet, but today I think the lines between communities, or like sort of, I don't know, sort of like your people or your tribe, or like, people's identities. I feel like that the lines between groups are even more
hostile towards each other, or
I think so. And I think the play does a really fantastic job of sort of talking about how it's. Dan, you haven't even. Yeah. I thought I was going to be the one who was going to be knocking things over, but yeah.
Getting reckless.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit of last night at the same time.
Well, what'd you get up to last night?
We'll talk about that later. But no, let's stay on this subject. Sorry, I just had to switch off something. It was echoing in the background. I could hear it.
No, that's all good. So what was I saying?
Stickler for audio. Yeah, you were saying about the sort of the divide in sexual preference, or you think to different groups, you were saying,
Yeah, I think probably not so much. This is my own personal opinion. I think sexual preference is probably something that's not quite as... there's, especially here in Australia, there's been, especially since the advent of, gay marriage being legalized. I think there's been a lot of progress. Things obviously aren't, perfect, but I think there's been progress.
There's been good progress. Yeah, they were a little slow behind the ball, but New Zealand legalized it a lot sooner, right? Legalized, is that the right word for it? Yeah. And they were a little way behind that, but they finally did it. Yeah. But when was this? Sorry. I feel like sort of like social media these days, I feel like people wear their colors or like wear their groups like very much on their sleeves these days. And not just from like a sexual preference like point of view, but I think also sort of like, it could be anything from diet to like political views or, even sports teams or, professional athletes or things like that. I feel like we as a society have probably become more accepting in some ways, but at the same time, like more divided, if that makes sense. I think this play is like really important because I think it's sort of, the underlying message in it is sort of like, how we can all sort of like operate like together as a whole community. Yeah. And I think, I think this play will be around for like a long time because I think pieces like this are important to, sort of help the progress. Highlight current social issues and what have you that still goes on. Yeah, from that time. So what was the time period it was actually created, or the play's actually playing out in?
So it's set in 1998.
Okay, right. So fairly recent times, yeah.
Yeah, relatively recent.
Okay, I thought it was, I got the guess that it was quite some time ago, quite an old play.
Well, I suppose it's 1998 was like about 30 years ago. Was
98? No. This is 23 years ago, yeah.
This is why I became an actor. Maths definitely wasn't my strong suit. So it was still a more current issue than, say, back in the 1900s, or anything previous. And that's why I thought the way you started off, that it was like quite back in the day, you know what I mean? Before you and I were alive, I thought. That's interesting. So, and the play's been performed several times. Is that, or is this a certain creation of it, adapted sort of play? Or so it's been since its sort of
first was staged back in 2000, it is quite regularly performed around the world. And I think in the UK at the moment, it's part of like the high school curriculum. So it's like drama students in the UK have to read it as part of like their studies. I think there was even a production of it last year here in Brisbane. And then obviously there's this production going on at the moment. I don't know. There might be other productions out there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Can you just bring that mic a little closer to you?
Sure.
I mean, don't block off your hand signals, but I just want to hear your sweet voice a little louder. You know.
Well, I mean,
the audio.
No, I was trying to communicate with my hands.
No, that's okay.
It's those stage actors,
just watch out for the mic. No, that's good. So in this their version of the play or the one that you're playing out, what sort of character or characters are you playing? Because by the sounds of it, there's a few from what you've told me.
Yeah, there's quite a lot at the moment. I'm playing. It says in the script that I'm playing 11 characters, but I'm actually playing 10. But we'll just say that I'm playing 11.
Is that one character's got two different characters within him? Is that what you're saying?
No, it was. We had to cut down like a couple of. We had to cut out like some bits and pieces of the script because it's like a 2.5 hour long show with like the full run of it. So one of my characters wound up on the cutting room floor, but that was fine. I was like, sweet, that's one less character I have to play. But
this is okay when I have 10 already.
Yeah, 10 already. Yeah. But like the majority of the characters I play, it's a little bit weird because they're all like a bit older than I am, so
they're not different versions of the same character, are they? Or
no. So they're all different
10
people,
separate characters.
10 separate characters, and they're all based off real people as well. So all the characters I played actually did exist and still do exist, and they're all about like 10 to 15 years older than me, which is. I always knew I was an old man, but I didn't quite realize that I was that old to be playing characters 10, 15 years older than me. But there's I play like a police detective. He's got like a very strong sense of justice. I play a couple of priests, so a couple of religious figures. Head of a university. Oh man, I've just had a complete blank of all the characters that I play. But I sort of play, I suppose the best way I can sort of sum it up is like characters either from like an educational or religious background. And there's just like that one character who's the police officer. And I play two gay men as well. So it's actually quite a lot of fun. It's also like a little bit tricky sometimes because, obviously they've all got to have different personalities, different voices, different accents for all of them. And there's been a few times since it is like such a long show, we sort of get to like the 2 hour 15 mark or something like that. And since it is quite an emotionally demanding piece, and you sort of get to about like the 2 hour mark, and like the concentration's sort of starting to get like a little bit shaky. And there's been a couple of times where I've been from the south, and then I've gone to the north I've gone from like Georgia to the Bronx in about the space of 5 seconds, and then realized I'm in the wrong part of the US, and then
and the accent's carried over.
There's been a couple of times where there's a scene at the end. We've got some absolutely incredible actors in it, and there's some times because most of us are on stage for the majority of the show. So we're sort of like the I suppose the wallpaper, I guess you'd call it, but. There's a few times where I just get like so caught up in what someone else is doing, and then I'm like, I've got to go back out there, and there's been a couple of times where I've like gone in with completely the wrong accent and being like, whoops, that's the wrong accent.
Yeah, other actors are looking at you like, what's too bad?
Well, I don't think anybody's picked up. Nobody said anything, but it's I've just
the show must go on, right? You just got to keep going. I mean, that's the thing with theatre. You're in a live performance with an audience there and other actors to play off. So I mean, you just got to ad lib and go with the flow, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I admire theatre actors. That part of it would be very tough, and especially playing so many characters like that. I mean, I can only imagine that's a bit of
that's what kind of makes it fun.
Yeah. Well, the challenging portion of it. Well, not that it's not challenging anyway, but that makes it a hell of a lot more challenging than just playing one character. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's such a rush to it though, because it's kind of like before you, like sometimes when you go just before like the show starts, you kind of think to yourself, you're like, all right, it's just kind of like, it's like standing in front of like, just on like the edge of the diving board and being like, all right,
here we go.
Yeah, here we go. And when you get to the end of it, it's kind of like, whoa, it's like, it's such a rush.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's like what's kept me coming back to theatre. Like, don't get me wrong, I love film and TV as well. Like, I think they're fantastic, and like there's so much you can do with film and TV that you can't do in theatre. But like, theatre is just like, it's a rush, man.
Yeah.
It's a rush.
So in a describable rush, like a lot different from the rush that you get from connecting with a scene partner for acting, or, you know, doing a monologue yourself and getting really in depth with the emotionality of the character. Is there a different connection because it's an audience there that you're connecting with rather than the characters, or what's that like, you know, the difference?
Yeah, thank you for bringing up the audience, because that's, I'll get around to that if I get sidetracked. Yeah, like there's definitely like the sort of like when you're on film and TV and on stage, like when you're doing like the connections or like the monologues, or like when you're like, I think that's where a lot of the crossover is, when you're doing like the character stuff, and like when you have like those moments of connectivity, or when you feel like you're really in the moment, that like really carries over between both the mediums. But the audience is always I know, it's a bit like the Joker in the pack is having an audience there, because it can be, it's always like chucking an unknown variable into it. So, and I think that's
with their reaction, are you saying in that regard, or or lack of, like, I'm
just trying to think how to word this. It's sort of just like an extra element to it. I mean, the best way I can sort of describe it is that I mean, like when you do stage, like, sure, you have all your actors there with you on the stage, but it's like the audience is there with you as well. And I mean, that could be it's always like an unknown variable. Like you know, you might get a lot of laughs one night, and then the next night, you know, they might be really sad, or or you know, there's always something different, and they say like it shouldn't like affect your performance, but I mean, like it does affect the performance, but I mean, it's I don't think you should hand it to the audience, or like try to
use that as an excuse or a crutch. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, it's just like an extra color that
you can choose to draw upon if you feel the need. But I mean, how was that for you? I mean, because I don't do a lot of theatre, so that's why I'm curious.
Well, we met doing theatre.
We did, and we will get to that. But I am curious, about how that is for you. Like, are you channeling it out most times? And I mean, it would be different for different portions of the characters you're playing in different parts of the play, right? Whether you're actually demonstrating and projecting out to the audience, or a lot of the time you're playing off the actor that's next to you, you know, and it's kind of like that connection through the eyes and everything. Because theater's different like that, right? There's some portions where you actually turn and break that third wall, if you will, and play to them rather than be playing to the other person beside you, which you're always doing in film and TV.
And I mean, it really, I suppose it kind of depends on like the production or sort of
and how it's structured.
Because I mean, sometimes there are times when like you do deliver to the audience, especially with scenes, especially like when you're doing monologues or things like that. But I think a lot of the correlation between the two is having that connectivity with like the other actor and like being emotionally available and emotionally present with them. But it's kind of like intimacy is the word that's popping up, because it's kind of like, you know, when you're allowing yourself to be seen with another person, you know, that's quite a very intimate thing. But when the audience is there as well, it's kind of like, you know, you've got all these extra people with you who are seeing that intimacy, and it's. I know I had a teacher say to me once. He said, people don't go to the theatre or watch movies or TV because they want to see a story. They go watch those things because they want to see themselves. They want to see those aspects of being human. You know, being
something up inside of them that they can relate to the characters or what's going on in the play. Yeah. It's the same with film as well in that regard. Yeah. Like, I know I watch movies from a standpoint of not being a performer, of being a viewer, you know, and being engrossed in what I'm watching. And, you know, you gravitate towards the things that you can relate to yourself or those characters, or some things that are probably the furthest part from you, because it's entertaining that aspects that aren't you, you know, like a serial killer or something. You're not a serial killer, are you? But
no.
I mean, no one took that.
No. I did grow up on a farm, but no, that was the that was. I was always like, no, I can't be bothered going to prison for that. So no, there'll be no serial killings around here, except for wheat picks. That's the only cereal I kill.
Oh shit! It's a good one. I haven't actually heard that before, as corny as it is.
Oh yeah,
and usually I hear the corny jokes a lot, but that's a good one, Drew.
Thank you. Yeah. But what were we saying?
Just relating to the characters and things in the audience as well. But like you said before, we did meet on the theatre.
Yeah.
That was my only, or actually opera to be precise.
Yes, it was an opera.
That was.
You have a beautiful singing voice.
Thank you. I didn't really sing, but we were playing background soldiers in the main part of the performance. Agrippina we were doing. That actually won. What was it, about 5 or 7 Helpman Awards? I think, which are like the Queensland Theatre Awards. I guess.
No, I beg your pardon.
Are they?
No, they're the Australian Theatre
really?
Awards. Yeah,
okay,
so
I'm even more surprised now.
I don't know. That's like, so like...
It's a big deal, because I know
deal.
There was like the main cast were from overseas, right?
Yeah.
Which was, it was pretty awesome and quite crazy to see. Oh, man, I just spilled some of that.
No, that's all right.
Just top you up there, lad.
Thank you very much. But yeah, no, the Helpmans are a big deal. It's because it won the award for best opera. So that's like in all of Australia, that was the best opera.
Sorry, keep talking. Year. I just realized I spilled that, and it's going to soak into the wood table. So keep going.
But so you can say you're a Helpman. You're a Helpman winner, Danny.
That's right. Keep going.
Yeah, but So I remember that was the. It was the first time we met. Was on the set of Agrippina, and we had this. There were a lot of shenanigans that happened on that show. But the one that Dan always loves to remind me about was about the time that I nearly burnt the stage down.
Yeah, we should say what we were actually sort of doing, because it's a bit of a random thing. That's we paint the picture for the audience here. We were soldiers, and there was probably, what was there, 8 of us? And so there's an opera going on in the whole show, and we are on stage on several parts of it to play out little maneuvers, if you will, right? We're background kind of extras, if you will. And there are these big contraptions, built up cages that actually a lot of the times play as like a backdrop to everything, and also they have the actors actually in there singing through there, and there's like lights in them and different lighting shows, and
they were like moving sets.
They were moving sets that we had to physically push around the stage, maneuver on little spots that we had to learn at rehearsals for a long time, like weeks and weeks out. It was crazy because I'd never been a part of something like that.
Well,
it was very interesting.
We were extras and stage crew at the same time.
Yeah, which is quite an interesting concept. And on the back, we had a responsibility on our shoulders to really perform, because otherwise it was going to look terrible if we didn't get into certain spots all the time. And I will admit, sometimes we were off, and we were playing on opposite sides of the cages though. Let's go. We were KJ, and I think we held it. We held it down a few times. You guys were lacking.
No, excuse me. KGB was we were the team. We were the team.
Don't know about that.
Oh, look,
let's go to what you were about to talk about before.
Okay, well, I'm just going to
KGB had a hand in. Paint the picture. Let's go.
All right, so there's this. We're about like halfway through the show, and so there's all the there's about 3 or 4 of the leads at the front of the stage, and they're singing. I don't know. I don't speak any. Well, I had no clue what was going on. I just know that there was singing going on
in a foreign language.
And so we're in these. We're in sort of like these 2 movable cages, sort of at the back of the stage, and they've got all these lights in them, and so there's about 4 of us standing in each of the cages, and they're on either side of the stage, and there's where our marks were. There was a light underneath each one of the where our marks were, so we're being lit by the lights underneath us, and. I think this particular night, so we had to be there for this spot, and I think we had to be there for like half an hour or 45 minutes or something like that. There was a long time of standing there, just basically very statuesque, and I just remember. So we're all sort of standing there, just like looking blankly out, and well, not blankly, we had the intentions going on, and. So I'm standing there and I'm like looking out into the audience, and
this is the point where we file into the cage as soldiers, and we go from one to and hit our marks. No,
I forgot that part. I've tried to.
It's all right. I remember it very well.
Oh, of course you remember it well.
You put it in the back of your memory.
Yep, I was like, yep, that's never coming out again. But it's fine. It's how
about I tell them from my point of view, because I feel my point of view was quite funny actually.
All right, fine.
But you chime in and feel free to say what you say. But as he said, we'd maneuver the cages round, and we got them to a certain point, and the main actors were laced out in front of the cages, and then we sort of file in as like background extras, right, standing tall as soldiers as we are, and we're sitting there, we're standing there like stale face, just serious and everything, with our hands behind our backs, just looking staunch as anything. And Andrew was the last one to actually file into his cage, and he did his thing, and being the lights, they had some very thick gauged wires and should we say cables, because they were thick, that were attached to the cage that were running the light show. And after a while, we're standing there, and we've done this, we've rehearsed this not 20,000 times, probably a good 100 times or something. We've been doing it a lot, and this was probably maybe second or third performance in, right? One of the two, and so we're just standing there, and we're like, what's that smell? And we're like, I don't know, nothing. And my mate Sasha's next to me, obviously, and we're like, man, something's going on. Can you smell that? Like maybe something's, I don't know, maybe the dust on the lights or something's burning or whatever. And then after a while, it starts to intensify, and we look over, because we know the smell's not coming from the A team.
Oh, okay, right.
And we look over, it was coming from the B team, and all of a sudden the wires that we had to move around happened to be sitting on the light for a little while, and there was a bit of smoke and essence burning from the outside of the cables, and we look over, and Andrew's got the cables sitting on the lights, and there's smoke bursting out of the lights. lights and were like about to catch fire. Well, that's how I remember it.
It wasn't quite going to catch fire.
But it was definitely smouldering away with a live audience there.
It was. Yeah.
We were pissing ourselves laughing.
Well, it was because it was, you know what it was, Daniel. I was so in character. You know, I was so staunch and just like looking at
Lawrence. Lawrence Dalby, a distinguished director. Yeah, distinguished director, award-winning director.
So we're standing there looking staunch, looking out into the distance, and I could just see like the smoke coming up, and I was like, no, it's nothing to worry about. I was just so focused on trying to look out into the audience and trying to, and
keeping character.
Yeah, keeping character, and I looked down and. There's just like all this smoke rising up from underneath me, and I'm like, just ignore it. It'll break the illusion of the show if I move from this spot. Yeah, it'll sort itself out. So I just kept like looking out into the audience, and it just kept smoldering and smoldering and smoldering, and I was like, and like I had a glance over, and everyone was like sort of looking at me, and they're like, Andrew, sort it out, do something. And I was like, okay, guys, don't worry. So just like very subtly, I just like gave it a little bit of a nudge and just like moved the cable off the light. And
crisis averted.
Yeah, just completely stone faced the whole time whilst it happened, and. And I forget what happened.
Finished the rest of the performance. We did all right, but when we got back to those to our dressing rooms, we lost our shit at you. It was the funniest thing. I don't know if I've cried that hard in so long, laughing, and you were the butt of the joke for the rest of the weeks, right? Because it was we didn't let you live it down. Obviously, years later, I was as I will say, Daniel. I was just very professional, just very in character. Yes, you were. It was one of the more funnier introductions to Andrew, and there's been plenty of hilarity come after that.
No, I think that. Yeah.
I mean, in general, with everything that's come.
I just sort of like
blank it out.
I just sort of blank it out. Yeah, I'm just like, yep, that happened. And,
Oh no, it was hilarious. It was a great start. To knowing you, I would have to say the comedic value is there. But no, that was great. And I mean, as you said, it won awards. We had little riffs in between that we could do little things with our characters. I remember Moneybags. We did the things with it. Yeah, that was our little play a few times. But no, it was good fun.
Danny's... we had this scene where we're all sort of like lining up to get paid, and like Dan was the last one to receive his money, and every night, as I was saying with the audience before about how like there's the audience reaction, there was so we all sort of like line up, we receive our money and like we weigh it up, and then
a bag of gold,
and walk off stage. And Dan was the last soldier, like every single night, and every single performance, it just got like a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer.
Played it out.
Yeah,
I got some good reactions. I did switch it up. I had to keep myself entertained.
Hey, that's
performing, right? That's performing. It's different with the live audience, I have to say, because I haven't done a lot of it. And back in the day, I never would have done any of it because I was freaked out about it. I never liked speeches at school or anything like that, so it was interesting doing that. And that's probably, I mean, I still haven't challenged myself a lot with the theatre aspects, but it was fun once you get comfortable with it. Once you get comfortable with it, it is a different thing, a different way of performing in itself. And that was fun doing those little cameos. I don't know if I'd like to be the main character holding that show together, but it'd be fun. It would be challenging to do, and I hope I do it and balls up someday.
I definitely would recommend giving it a shot, because honestly, like, it is. Sure, it's terrifying, like sometimes, but I mean the rush you get from it. When you're in it, when you're on, it's like I can't even describe it. Like I had it's sort of like, I don't know. Sometimes it feels like when like you're really on your game, it's sort of like. It feels like you've got like the whole room in like the palm of your hand, and like it's a fucking amazing feeling. Like it, and like you get to the end of it, and you're like, whew, damn, like whoa, what just happened? And like it's it's awesome. And it's what, it's what made me fall in love with it in the first place. And it's what makes me want to keep doing this. Like, it's awesome. We definitely, and plus like it definitely does like help a lot with like the film side of things. Because you sort of, after a little while, you sort of learn to be like really efficient with like, with your stuff. And like when it, and when that translates over to film, you can get like, your 2 or 3 takes out of the way and be like, all right, sweet. Well, we got what we need to get. And then it's, and the director's like, all right, well, let's get a few more takes. And it's like, all right, sweet. Well, like we can play around with this. Like what can I do with this? How can I tweak this? And like, yeah. And it's just, I think it's a great way of, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but like, the Reds have kicked in and, I know, but like, I think it's just a great way of like,
it's invigorating in a different way of performing.
Yeah.
But well, I mean, you do a lot of film acting and stuff like that as well, and we will get to that. But I know that there was a few, should we say, discussions or arguments backstage when we were doing this production, and with a couple of actors. I remember there was I was heavy film because that's what I had done all the time. And I remember I was pretty outnumbered. And I do remember.
Oh no, there was a few.
There was a few, but I remember Donnie. He was arguing for theatre for a long time, and it was funnily enough I see him do basically film all after that. And he's done very well at it. Props to him. But yeah, it was funny. We had a lot of arguments, but for you then, what is if you had to sum it up, like what do you prefer and why? Because it's all performing and it's all like an art form, obviously, and it you don't need to have a favorite. I'm just curious, is there one that you prefer over the other?
I think obviously like I'd have to say theatre. Like,
really? Okay.
Oh, definitely. Like, don't get me wrong. I love film. I love TV. I think it's and sometimes like when you go out on set and like you're in like your costumes and like you're doing like some of the crazy stuff and like some of the it's probably like, I think film is probably like the closest you can get to actually doing something without actually doing it, if that makes sense. But the thing I kind of like about theatre, I mean, sure, there's so many things there's so many things that we've already talked about, sure. But I think probably the thing I like most about it was, I was like, as a kid, like, I was a kid that had like manic ADHD. So like, I was always like off in fairyland or like off with the Tweeties, but, and just like always daydreaming and stuff like that. And I always wanted to draw, but like I was a terrible drawer. And, but yeah, I could always just like, I had a really active imagination.
Visualize, yeah.
Yeah. And I always found like, as I grew up, that like I was really drawn to like works of media that had like really rich and vivid worlds. And yeah, I remember like, I read like a lot of Japanese comic books, like a lot of manga, and like, I thought to myself, I was like, wow, I really want to do this, but like I couldn't draw, like I couldn't create the worlds or anything like that. And the thing I really like about theatre is like, you are the artist, you are painting the picture for the audience. Like it's like you're inviting them into your world. Like you control everything and it's all inside
the space,
it's all inside your mind. But you can go anywhere, you can do anything in your mind, and it's kind of like building this world and saying to people, it's like please come in.
Yeah.
Have a sit down.
In. Yeah.
And like you take them on a journey with it. And the thing I love about it is it's always different. It is always different. Like with the show that I'm doing at the moment, I spent so much time like trying to make sure that I had like all my lines down, had all my cues correct, and like had all my accents and like had all the technical stuff down pat. And excuse me. Whew. Also making sure that there was like that emotional connection with the characters and like the emotional depth and being telling the truth and making sure that was all there. And when we did it in rehearsals, I was kind of like, okay, I think I know everything that this play's about. And we got to, thank you, we got to opening night, and heck, we even got to preview, and it was like going into like another level down. And like I discovered all this new stuff, like even on preview, and like with each passing night, I've learned something new with each passing night. And that's so fun. Like when you're learning that stuff on the fly, and like
no nights same as the next.
No, like no two nights are ever the same. Like and I keep bringing up the audience, but what happened last night, we so sort of like the first two shows that we had, I sort of found like the opening night show that we did, the audience was kind of like, we finished the show and the audience was like, oh, wow, that was cool. Yeah. Woo, 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 woo. And like they sort of had like that exhilaration about it. And then I found like we did a matinee yesterday, and I found there was like a lot of anger. Like it was a very angry performance. And then last night I sort of found it was like this incredibly sorrowful performance. And in the space of, and because sometimes like when you're doing film and stuff like that, like when you go with the emotions, how it sort of affects you.
Yeah.
And to do two shows in the space of a day, and the first one is like very angry and like it's very like explosive and very passionate, and the second one is just is like this huge well of like sadness that comes up from it. To experience those two things in the space of a day, like it's that's the thing that keeps me coming back. And there was this thing last night when we so the show finished and like we did our bows, and like you could just feel like this weight of like sadness that was sitting in the theater. And sadness is probably that makes it sound like really negative.
Heaviness.
Yeah, but it was kind of, I suppose, like the best way I can sort of describe it is like sad, but in a beautiful kind of way.
Yeah. The appreciation for what's happened and what you guys have just done and what you've evoked and the emotion out of the audience.
Yeah, 100%. And and so like we did the bows and everything. I like went backstage, got changed, and I walked back down to the theater, and like you sort of like got across from the theater to get out to like the foyer where the audience are. And so I walked into the theater and like gotten changed, and I've walked out into the foyer. And as soon as I was feeling pretty good about things. I was like, sweet, like 2 shows. I knew it was going to be a tough day yesterday, but I was like, sweet, 2 shows, and like both shows went really well. So I was like, sweet. I was feeling really chuffed about that. And I remember I crossed it over the threshold in the theater to where the audience was, and it was just like this huge wave of like emotion and sadness hit me. And I was talking to these, like these 4 or 5 like high school students last night, and we were just like talking, and like I was just like, thanks very much for coming along to the show. Like I really appreciated the people supporting theater, things like that, and we were just, we're just talking normally. And like, I felt like the 5 or 6 of us were all going to like burst into tears. And like to have 6 men like burst into tears, like almost simultaneously, I mean, that is something that doesn't happen every day. Yeah. And I mean, it's, I don't know, I think it's like something that's a little bit special. And like, that's what that's what I really love about the theater. Don't get me wrong, I love my fee, but like
that's what keeps you coming back. Yeah, it's crazy. No, it's it's a special thing, man. You're making me want to go see more theater. Although I don't, and it's an interesting thing for entertainment and choice to go on a Saturday night to go and see a play about that and evoke that kind of emotion. So I'm like, should I have even come here and done this? I feel worse about myself, but I guess you can find a silver lining in the whole message of the play. And if it's put across properly and it's written right and all the rest of it, they come away with something from it, and that's the power of an art form like theatre or film, is that it evokes emotion in the audience. You can place yourself there in some regard, no matter what way it is, whether it be positive or negative, I guess. It evokes something within you, and that's something special that you walk away with from it. And I guess you as an entertainer being able to portray that certain performance is a really uplifting and, charging emotionally kind of thing that you've just done, that you've just went through, and it's emotionally taxing. And that's probably when you walk, like, as you say, you come off the stage, you're breaking that third wall of like coming from it, and you hit that wave of emotion and energy because you've broken through it and it's stopped and it's, it's ended, but you've got that, period there where you're processing everything that's just gone down, and you've kind of gone through something together, with the audience and stuff like that. And
I think that, sorry to interrupt. I just had this thought come through, but I think that's another thing that I really like about it. And I think that's why it has survived. Like, I mean, people have been gathering around like fires and telling stories. Since
for a long time, since the beginning of time, that they could actually, from Neanderthals, that they have evolution and then they can actually speak,
100%, and
or communicate,
and I think it's that community thing. Like there's something, it's like getting a group of people in a room and like they see a story and like we all connect on. I mean, if it's done well, like it's like we all connect. It's like a group consciousness kind of thing, or like a group emotionality, and that's another thing. It's like that. It's like that connection, like being bigger than something than like yourself. No,
I like it. It's an interesting concept, man, and that's it's an interesting art form. And I guess, like you say, from the beginning of time, people have been telling stories. I mean, you've got like the beginnings of it, to, like you say, around the campfire, say in, ancient times, like in, Westerns or Navajos or, like any sort of race and, creed or what have you. They've been telling stories around a campfire or with their friends or their acquaintances or hearsay, and like, look at that gunslinger from the West. You don't want to mess with him. You don't want to go to that town, and it can be hyped up. And it's the type of performance, and it's just kind of eventuated into an art form, the evolution of people and the evolution of consciousness and the evolution of communication to an art form now, and then it's obviously now that we have cameras and things like that these days and video, like you've got that, but that's kind of like still it's a true ancient told philosophy or ancient told art form that's still being performed in a theater amongst people in a live performance, without cameras and without being generated in another technological aspect, it's visceral, it's visual, visceral, right in front of you. It's engaging. It's all of those things just right in front of you, and you're like, wow, kind of stopped at a moment of time to watch this period of piece, and there's like jesters, back in the day that used to entertain crowds, or the king and the queen and things like that, and, like comedians and things like that. It's another sort of branched off a branched off art form for it. Like, cause there was always that one guy that would be funny and larrikin and probably drunk as a skunk and trying to like entertain everybody and falls over into the fire and burns his face or something like that. It's just cause he's a larrikin, but he's performing. Yeah. And it's a special thing. I guess, that's interesting. I've never really looked at it like that, but it is like an ancient art form that's still alive in this current time period, and has been performed for a number of years. So it is a special thing that you go through. And I like that word that you used before, is like a consciousness, like, because everybody's kind of like on that wavelength when you're telling that story. And if they're really in and it's told right and performed right and it's taken in, then it's a special consciousness, because you're all like finding some humanity or emotional standpoint that you're all connecting on. it's a special thing, you know, like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool when you can do that, man. Like, and I mean, I get that from film when I'm watching something, you know, and like you said about before, you're finding some sort of emotional connection or seeing yourself in the characters or putting yourself in that time period or that time of what's been demonstrated on screen, and you're feeling that. And maybe some people aren't as conscious of that as what I know that I am a lot of the times, but that's why you're connected, and that's why you do what you consume that type of media. But that's just in the visceral form, live and stage in front of you. So it's a great. You know what? I don't have any rebuttal for that. I'm not going to even get an argument. That's interesting what you said, and I like that. I like the way you explained it, and what that evoked in my imagination from it.
Yeah, and I mean that's why I really think you should give it a go.
Yeah. You're warming me up to it, Drew.
That's like 90% of why I came here. I was like, I'm going to get Dan on the theatre. I'm going to get him on the theatre stage.
Hey man, I don't know if it's the wine or the company, but it's working.
but I mean, even like, and I don't think it definitely doesn't just apply to theatre. I mean, it's like live performance of any sort, if it's like ballet or music or like comedy or I don't know.
Yeah, or any dance form. Yeah.
Because it's sort of like, or sports even, like it's, I don't know. We go there to be, I don't know.
You go there to be entertained. I mean, that's why, I mean, you know, for example, martial arts and combat, and like the man sitting above you there, Muhammad Ali, knocking down Sonny Liston. I mean, it's a special thing. You know, I see boxing as an art form. I see it as that. Like, I love boxing.
Like athletic pursuits are like, it's an art form. Like sports at like athletics at like the highest
doing a
level.
Special thing, and you're entertaining thousands or millions of people, or just a few, you know, like it's a special thing to watch. Yeah, it's crazy, man. But so for your other attributes and things that you've done, I know recently in the last couple of years, or last year or so, you shot a feature film with a mutual friend of ours, J.R. Hill, the one and only Jeremy Reese Hill, and that we've both worked with before. But this is one of his next feature film that he's done, Western Culture. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because I know if anyone, people that have listened to the podcast before, previous episodes, Victor, he was on this as well. And played opposite to you.
Yeah, no, Victor was handsome, that handsome man.
But so let us know a bit about the film Western Culture, and
so it's obviously it was written and directed by our friend Jeremy, who's always seems to have a few projects ticking over.
He's always got something going on.
He's always got something going on. He is. So it's about trying to think like the simplest way I can explain this. So it's about these two female detectives in. It's set on the Gold Coast. So it's about these two female detectives as part of the Queensland Police. They start investigating this series of like highly ritualized and like almost kind of satanic kind of killings that are sort of taking place on the Gold Coast. And so they start investigating these murders that are happening, and they actually find out there's a satanic cult inside the. I suppose that's probably the closest thing I can describe it as. But there's like a satanic cult inside the Queensland Police, and so it's sort of the movie develops between the two main characters trying to stay ahead of the satanic cult inside the police, and whilst they're trying to track down these two killers who are killing the members of the satanic cult inside the police. So it's sort of like a triangle sort of. And so Victor and I, we were the bad guys in the film. So we were the two. He was sort of like the two IC of like the satanic cult inside the police, and I was like his offsider. And honestly, like that was the first feature film I worked on as like a main character. But that was sort of like Jeremy was, he built it. Like, I feel like that movie was run because like he was just like putting out so much like energy into the project that
that's how he rolls, bro.
That's how he rolls. And like, I mean, I get so mad sometimes. Like I'm not mentioning anybody, but like sometimes I walk onto like film sets or onto stage sets or something. Like I walk into a production or something like that, and you just walk in there and you know the people there. They're like, I don't know, they're just kind of like blasé about it. They're kind of like, oh, you know, I just want to do this because it's like kind of cool, or like, you know, and
it's your passion.
Like Jeremy's like such a passionate guy, and like I love being on sets, or like I love working with people who are passionate about.
The energy is infectious.
Oh, it is, and like working on Western culture was like Jeremy was like, I'm hustling, like I'm gonna bring everyone together, and like he brought everyone together, and like I'd walk onto that set, and like, you know, it was right from the start time. If people called at 9 o'clock, you walk on at 9 o'clock, bam, everyone's switched on, everyone's focused, from set runners all the way through to the director. So like makeup department, actors, everyone switched on, like everyone like focused and like on that common goal. And yeah, I thought Western culture was awesome to work on, because like everyone from like I said, from set runner all the way through the director, like everyone was so passionate, everyone was so committed to it. And I think when like a group of like 30, 40 people get together and they've all got a common goal in mind, like I think some magic happens in those sorts of moments. And like, yeah, and like
it's a special thing. Yeah,
it's a special thing. Yeah,
and when you're like on an indie set, when you're, you know, he's you know how he rolls, and he's like backing it personally, you know, like with his own money and his own obviously time, and he's put everything into it, you know, that he has, and and that's why. But I know what you're saying about that infectious energy, because I've been a part, like, you know, his first feature film that he did, and he was the same way, and the energy of the set and everything, the vibe was just amazing all the time, and it was heavy, you know, like you all went through it together, you know, everything that we were doing it together for one common goal, and that's making an awesome art piece, a fucking cool film that we were just putting out there for the masses, you know, hopefully to see. And it's a special thing, man, when you're involved in something like that. Like it's some of the best times of my life was being on sets with him.
100%. And like I think it's sort of that thing I was saying before about community. I think like when everyone's like united, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, like let's go out, let's do this stuff. And there was this moment when we were on Western Culture, and I just wanted to bring up this story because I love Jeremy, and I'm hoping he's going to employ me on a few more films. But no, this honestly like impressed me big time, because we had because I mean, like I've worked on a few sets before where, like, I mean, actors are sort of notorious for
being difficult.
And
emotional people,
emotional people, and like I think definitely like there's times where like egos can like sort of get a bit like, you know, like it's this is just diverging a little bit, but yeah, I had a talking part in Pirates 5 once upon a time, and
Pirates of the Caribbean,
and like I found it like that was my first time ever like having a speaking role on a film, and like I'd only been like an extra before, and the way you get treated, even as like a person that had like one line, it was just like I got absolutely freaking pampered, and I can see why it goes to like some people's heads sometimes. And I mean, I always try to be like as level-headed as I possibly can, because I think if I get overconfident about things, like it'll backfire on me somewhere. But yeah, so, and I mean, you can see sometimes like directors and egos, but the thing that really impressed me about Jeremy was there was this time on Western Culture where we were filming this scene by this river, and basically what happened was Victor and I, so my partner in crime, Victor, were basically dumping this body bag into the river. So it was just like a dummy, like wrapped up in tarpaulin and thrown into the river. And yeah, so I think we're there for like half an hour or something like that. Trying to get like the right take for the shot, and it was like 11:30 at night. It was the start of winter here, and I mean, I know obviously winters here aren't too bad. I mean, especially compared to
pretty warm, bro.
Yeah, where you and Jeremy are from.
Yeah,
but there was after every single take, like Jeremy would this is the director of the film. He would after every single take, he would jump into the river, and like this is like 11 o'clock at night, and he'd swim out to the middle of the river, grab the bag, swim back to shore, bring like the bag back to us, and then like he'd go back, try and like, and then get behind the camera and be like, all right, we're ready to go again. And like, that's some fucking
commitment. Yeah.
That's like some fucking leading from the front stuff there.
And that's how he does. Yeah.
That's how he does it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I held him in pretty high esteem prior to that moment. But when he did that, I was like, all right, fuck it, man. Like, I'm with you on this one.
Commit to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like, I'm really excited for Western Culture coming out because, I mean, the script's really good, but the actors we have in it are fucking fantastic. Like, I mean, the two female leads we had Talia and
Layla.
I mean, they were absolutely fantastic in that, and like we had some really
terrific actresses. Yeah,
and had like some really great supporting cast, and like I said, everyone was just like so passionate about it, and I'm so excited when it does eventually come out. Yeah, I mean, it's
going to be this year by the sounds of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's been in post-production for about a year or so, but it's been a long year. But I'm really looking forward to, people going to see it because, like, I think it's going to be pretty cool, like, when it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's amazing like that, and that's what's so infectious about it, as we said before, and the energy and everything that he brings to it. I mean, he's a terrific writer. I think that's his strongest point at a lot of times, just his authenticity and the deepness of the writing and the connections. Like, so he's such character-driven scripts all the time, which is so awesome and uplifting for an actor. Like, there's nothing better than a character-driven script because you actually got so much substance to play with and then, embark on yourself and your own journey through the film. But like you say, leading from the front, he's great like that. And I mean, he's told me some things about the film and the production and stuff like that. And like, just like you say,
I hope you didn't say too much about it.
Leading from the front, like you say, 100%. And getting it over the line. But yeah, once you see the director so committed to everything that's going on and willing to swim out like that into the river and do it, but take after take, it is a truly inspiring thing. And that's when you're like, wow, I better up my game for this, because the bar has been set.
100%. Yeah.
It's amazing. So, I mean, I know I've spoken to you a little bit about the character that you played in this, and it seemed like it was a really emotionally taxing sort of venture for you. But yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about like your journey as that? And I'm just checking the camera, just FYI, while we're doing this, just to make sure we're capturing.
No worries. Hang on, just 2 seconds.
You're all right, brother. Take your time.
So yeah, like I said, mentioned earlier, I was playing a character called Agent Phillips. So he was sort of like the 3IC in the satanic cult inside the QPS, and I was trying to think how to word this. I mean, I remember when
satanic cult, as in, so there was a satanic cult inside the police department, is what you said, and you guys were involved in it. So is it a serial killer sort of thing, or what? Don't give away too much. We want people to see this. So
I won't spoil the plot or anything like that. But so basically, there was like a so there's like a hierarchy inside this cult. And so Victor was sort of like the 2IC of the organization, and his old man was I was sort of like the head of the organization. I was the 3IC, so I was like the I was like invited into the into the organization.
By association kind of thing,
So it was kind of like, so the 2IC and the first IC were family, and my character was like the outsider who was invited into the family.
You did the work.
Yeah, I did the work.
The background work.
The background work. And I remember when, I mean, there's like some stuff that happens in the movie which is like a bit, it's incredibly freaking dark, and like I was trying to think how to word this without giving too much away. But okay. it was like some really dark stuff that I had to do. And I remember I had a teacher back when I was back in uni, who always said to me, they're like, "I never judge the character because there's a reason why they do those things." And you know, you hear people talk a lot about like overall objectives or like what's the character's goal in the scripts. And the thing that I really found in Agent Phillips was the need for power, the need to like, I don't know. I drew a lot of, I mean, like I said before, not a serial killer, except for sanitarium products. But the thing that I really related to him was I had to fill in like a fair bit of backstory myself. Yeah. But I sort of like gave him a bit of like an underdog kind of status, and like being invited into this organization was like his ticket to power. So it was like, all right, he's like, yeah, I want to have, it was like in the past, I didn't have power. I didn't feel powerful, and that made me feel really bad. This is my ticket to be powerful, to get what I want, to get everything that I want. And I will do whatever it takes to get what I want. And like, yeah, and like so much dark stuff like happens in the film. And I remember when we were in that for about 2 months or so, we were filming that. And I remember coming out of that, like I was so, this might sound a little bit wanky, but you hear sometimes people talking about like actors getting too close to their character. And yeah, I just got so into the mindset of Phillips of like that. I want that power. Like I want to feel good about myself. I want that power. That, yeah, I was just like, I was so in that mindset for the whole 2 months that we were filming. And it sounds really weird, but I got way too close to the character. And I'm not saying that I did dark stuff or anything like that, but I remember the film stopped filming, and so like I finished shooting everything that I needed to do, and I was like, okay, I'm done with Phillips. And I was like, it's time to go back to being Andrew. But it's like, who's Andrew? And I completely forgot who I was. Like I got so close to Phillips that I completely forgot who I was as a person. Yeah. And it took me about like 3 weeks or so to sort of feel like myself again. And like, yeah, I came, like doing that role, like dug up like a lot of stuff. And yeah, it took me about 3 weeks or so to sort of like come back to reality, but it was like a tough 3 weeks. And that's another reason like why I really want people to go and see it. Cause like I sank so much stuff into that like, yeah, I think it's going to look really good. So, cause yeah, like I had 3 weeks where I didn't know who the hell I was. Yeah. And that's something I've tried to carry forward with me in my career. And I've been trying to carry that with me. But like everything I've done pretty much since then has been like I've been playing multiple characters in a production or something like that. And but yeah, that's something that I'm trying to hold on to, that if I ever go back into another character or something like that, to I don't know, just to remember who I am before I go into the production. And I think that's really important as an actor, like because you're
self-detrimental. Yeah.
I wouldn't say self-detrimental, but I think you need to know your heart, and I think you need to know your mind if you're going to be an actor, because you're the fuel, you're the instrument for everything that you play. Every character that you play, you're the engine of it. If you can think of like, you know, an engine like being transferred from car to car, that's kind of what being an actor is. And yeah, I think if I ever do when I do go back into more work, just like remembering who I am and just remembering that it's just different cars, but the engine's the same.
Yeah, so you can come out, yeah, because you put so much energy and emotion in using, I mean, it depends your methods and your approach to acting, but using a lot of emotion or past trauma or past whatever it is that you're evoking inside yourself to bring on a genuine performance, whatever way you use and you choose to dig that up, or imagination, you know, in some aspects. But that generally be the best tool to evoke your instrument, to fiddle its way through your character. But yeah, it is, man. And I've been in situations like that myself as well, where you put everything into a performance or everything into a film or TV show or whatever you're doing into the character, and you come away left going, I don't even know myself anymore. Like what am I? What am I doing? Fuck. Like it's emotionally and energy taxing to the finest degree. If you commit that much to it.
100%. And anybody who says to me that they do acting of any sort, I take my hat off to them, because honestly, like, it is, I think a lot of people see the glamorous side of it, like the carpets and
because they see the finalized version of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
they don't realize the iceberg under the surface that's got you to this glacier point of production. Yeah.
Yeah. And I take my hat off to anybody who does it, because it's fucking ballsy.
It's a ballsy move. Yeah.
To like get up and show your soul. And it's like, yeah. And that's scary. And especially the industry as well. Like, you've got to be so strong and like so tough to handle the industry. My very first professional role I ever got, I went into audition for it. It was a stage show. It was another opera. I was doing like a background extra thing, and it was the very first professional production I ever auditioned for. And the guy I was up against was this guy from my acting school. And I was absolutely shitting myself walking into this audition, because this guy was the guy. Like, he was the best actor in our school. Like, he had like the leading man look, like the leading man charisma and quality.
Yeah.
And I wasn't given any details about this audition. They just said, just show up for the audition. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, what the fuck are they going to ask me to do at this audition? I was like, how can I compete with this guy? Because I was like, this guy has got he's got me in everything. Like, does this guy? And so we go into the audition room, and the director comes out, says hello to both of us, looks us like up and down, and he goes, we'll go with you. He pointed at me, and I was like, why? And he's like, you're taller. And that was how I got my start. And that is the business. That is the industry. Like, this guy had me on every single count, and I got the role because I was taller. And to be able to handle an industry like that, you've got to be so freaking strong. But also on the other hand, you've also got to be like so sensitive. And it's a freaking hard gig, man.
It is.
And like, hats off to anybody who does that.
There's nothing easy about it.
No. That's that's why I love it, because I think it's
challenging.
It's
in
challenging.
every aspect, of your being,
Yeah.
And like you said, you got to be so raw, like on stage or in a performance. You got to be raw before you even start, like a clean slate of palette, and be molded from the ground up with your character and how you work it, depending on what your process is. And so that's stripping away everything you thought before about yourself or the character. Well, of yourself really first, and then building it all up from there, from the ground up, with the backstory, like you say, and what you can use within yourself, I guess. So that's not exactly blanking it, but it's just, you got to be so physically and emotionally raw with yourself, and then go from there. Like, it's like you said, it's a hard thing, and it's a ballsy move to show that kind of rawness on stage or in a performance. And take your hats off to anyone that does it. Like you said, I couldn't have said it really any better than what you just really said. It's a tough gig, man, and that's why that's why people get paid the big money when you get to that point. But you don't realize like where you start from and where you got to go to, and what you go through as a performer, and like even on the lamest of stages of where you start and where you build up from with the short films and like the extra roles and all this other stuff, and the time, blood, sweat and tears and sacrifices that you go through to actually just even get your skin in the game.
Yeah.
Never alone actually get something back from it,
Yeah.
It's a tough role.
It's a tough role, but I mean,
you want to do it
because it's so fucking rewarding.
I know.
On the
it's
other
crazy,
side,
like the rush you get from it.
Yeah. It's so like
Yeah, but I mean, it's, yep.
The balancing act, devil's advocate. It's just everything. Yeah. It's, I mean, we spoke about this like with Bernard. It's like just flashbacks, like in one of the like 5th or 6th episode, whatever we did, the 5th, I think. And we said about that, like, you're crazy. Why would you want to do this? Like the sacrifice that you make, things that you put yourself through. But I mean, what's anything worth doing if you're not doing that? Like,
exactly.
That's where the best things are made. Like, otherwise you're kind of just floating through life, right? And just skimming rocks in the river, and just plonking it and not even skimming it even 3 or 4 lanes. Like it's just to reach that reaching for a pinnacle of success, or what you dream of success in your own mind, or where the bar you set yourself that keeps constantly raising, which you never really reach the top, because if you're like me, or probably like you, I don't know, that's where it just keeps rising. There is no ceiling, there is no roof to this. We're just going, going for the stars, like, and beyond.
I was talking to my director yesterday, and I was trying to say something to her, like something that's inspirational, and all that came out was mountains are mountains because they're mountains. And I was like,
they started off pebbles and they slowly formed together through the ages of hard work and determination.
I think
but it's the elements though. It's not a bad, I get what you're saying though. Like if you look into that, and you can shape that as you will, but it all started out as like dirt or minuscule grains of sand or what have you, and it's been formed over time with the elements and everything that's around it to form to be a rock, and then it was slowly building up larger, and then it eventually got to a mountain, but that's tested through the elements in the age of time.
I think
is that what you're trying to say?
No, I was trying to say.
I got from it.
I was trying to say something else, but I mean, I'm glad.
Well, that's cool. I took from it.
No, that's cool though. That's that's the cool thing, man. It's the power of language.
We all see it differently, right?
Yeah, 100%. What was I going to say? That's.
Well, another thing that I would like to touch on too. Obviously, I know this, but Larry Moss, acting coach, world-renowned acting coach, Leonardo DiCaprio's acting coach, just the name of one person.
Kate Blanchett? Kate Moss. Sorry.
Kate Moss. Okay, well, there you go. But DiCaprio is obviously absolutely phenomenal. It has been for a long period of time. So you've done a workshop with him that's come to Brisbane on 2 different occasions.
Yeah.
Could you share the process of what he actually does, what you got from it, how the process sort of came about and what you had to do with the way he does it. I know it's study over a certain 3 or 4 days or what have you.
So basically how it works is what happens is you get sent out a script either 2 or 3 weeks before the actual workshop, and so you get sent a scene from a play, and so you have about 2-3, and you're partnered up with a scene partner, and you have about 2-3 weeks to prepare it. And it's got to be full costume, full accent, like full analysis, so everything basically. And so you get to the workshop, and then you have 2 run-throughs of it, and so there's normally there's like, you're in there with a whole bunch of other people as well. Oh, thank you. You'll get up and you'll perform it either on the first or second day. You'll get given like some critiques, some feedback, and then you have a day to sort of workshop it on your own, and then you get up and do it again, sort of on the 3rd or 4th day.
Okay.
And so that's sort of like the basic
basis of it, yeah. So what did you have to do? Like, what was your certain scene or guess? So I guess your character, and what was it like within his,
the first or second time?
Well, let's go with the first time for now.
Okay. So yeah, the first time we were doing a scene from an English play called Harper Regan, which is basically about this woman who's going through like a midlife crisis in her marriage, and she decides to like leave her husband one day and just like
walk off onto the streets of London and just sort of like go on her own sort of odyssey, basically. And during her travels, she like goes to a bar and she meets this this very drunk and high on cocaine journalist in this bar. And so the scene we played was, or the scene that I was given with myself and my scene partner, was the scene where they meet in this bar. And honestly, like the Laramie workshop was life-changing. It actually altered the trajectory of my life, did that first workshop. I mean, they both affected me in different ways, but that first workshop was the one that took me from, it altered the trajectory of my life, basically. I was sort of like stuck in like very deep depression in like my mid-20s. I was, I wasn't looking after myself, basically. And I just didn't know how I was going to like get out of sort of like the spiral that I was in my mid-20s. And I mean, we've spoken about what happened during that time. But so I remember I'd been acting since I was about like 19 or so. And it's sort of been something that I was kind of like, I went to acting school obviously for 2 years. And sort of once I got out of that, I sort of like did classes and like did bits and pieces here and there. But I don't know. I just sort of felt like that I was sort of like kind of going around in circles for a bit. And then, I read Larry Moss's book, and his book like really resonated with me. And I was like, he's also the acting coach for DiCaprio, and he was coming to Brisbane. And I was like, sweet, that's awesome. I really want to be involved with that. And I got given my scene partner. And how in depth do you want me to go with the process? Because
say what you need to say.
I don't know. Sort of like the way I was trained when I was in acting school was if like you take care of like your own character, like your own performance. I sort of think of acting sometimes as kind of like a little bit of a dance. Like if two people sort of like learn their moves, they'll like meet on stage and they'll have a dance. And I mean, you can't quite predict what the other person's going to do, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of like a give and react sort of thing. And I remember, I just sort of found that like I wasn't really like clicking with my scene partner in the rehearsal process. And like she was constantly like trying to, because I was always trained to like just like focus on my own performance, like my own character. And my scene partner was constantly like trying to ask me for guidance with her character. And I mean, I feel a little bit guilty about this because I was kind of like, I kind of just said to her, I was like, like figure it out on your own. But I just had this feeling that it was going to backfire on me like really, really badly.
Because you're in it together,
Yeah. But I don't know. I was just like, no. I'll just focus on my stuff. And
but you're in it together like a dance, as you say.
Yeah. And like I wasn't taking very good care of myself at the time. Like I was doing a lot of very silly stuff, and it wasn't really, wasn't a good time. But I mean, we got to the workshop, and I was kind of like, to be honest, I was kind of like a little bit blasé about it, to be honest. And like I was a bit, one, overconfident in my own abilities, and two, just ill-prepared for like I mean, this guy is like one of the leading acting coaches in the world. Yeah. And like I just didn't have my stuff together. And like so we got up there, and like I was on the second day, and I remember like the first day, like the people that I think it was Larry's I can't remember if it was his first time coming to Brisbane or if it was the first time he'd been to Brisbane in quite a long time. But the people that came to the workshop were like they were like the really serious, like the really focused actors. There were people there in that workshop who, were on TV doing shows with like state theatre companies. And I was a guy who was just kind of like mucking about in like, in just like classes and like, and not much else. I did like a lot of work like after I graduated from acting school. But yeah, I kind of, when I went onto the sets of Pirates, I sort of, I completely stuffed like being on Pirates. And that kind of spooked me a bit because I completely blew it when I was on Pirates. And yeah, that kind of spooked me a little bit. I was like, oh shit, like I stuffed up on like I got given such a great opportunity and I blew it on that set. And I was like, damn, I'll never be an actor again. And that happened when I was about like 23 or 24 or so. So I was about 26 by the time Larry came around. So I'd had 2 years of just sort of being like, oh, I'm not going to be an actor. Like I was sort of like sticking with it because I was kind of like, I always wanted to be an actor. I suppose I'll stick with it. But, I got a very rude wake up call when I went to the Larry Moss workshop, because I was underprepared. I hadn't really taken care of my scene partner, and like everyone else, it was like fucking amazing. And we got like 30 seconds into our scene, and before we got stopped, and we got pulled up, got told to stop, and Larry like pulls out the script, like he hadn't pulled out the script for anyone. And he says to me, he's like, do you realize there's a full stop with your line? And I was like, huh? And he's like, there's a full stop with your line. Like, do you know what that means? And I was like, it's a full stop. Yeah, whatever. And he was like, no, punctuation. The writer has given you a full stop for a reason. Why is there a full stop there? I was like, I don't know. And like, I panicked. I panicked big time.
Because you're in front of a lot of people.
I'm in front of a lot of people.
Auditors, watching.
Yeah. And I was in front of like some of the biggest people in Brisbane, and like people that I really respected and some people that I admired. And like I respected and admired Larry, but this was like my worst freaking nightmare. And I remember being there on that stage, and like we probably spent like 15, 20 minutes of him just like freaking berating me. He was trying to get a reaction out of me. And I just kept on like throwing up the walls and trying to go like further and further into my shell because I was trying to hide from it all, and I was trying to block it all out. And I remember I got so stressed that everything in my head went white, and like I couldn't see anything. Like everything was just white all around me. And all I could see was just like Larry sitting in like his seat. I was in an auditorium of like 200-300 people or something like that. I couldn't see anything except for Larry just like sitting in this seat. And there was like a little light on him, and everything was white in my head, and I could not see anything. And I was trying to like put up all my walls and push everything away. And I was still trying to like do the scene as best I could. And I was getting really frustrated because I was like, fuck it, I'm messing up on such a big stage. And like, I was really angry at myself because I felt like I was ill prepared. And yeah, it was just like a perfect storm. Like so much stuff was happening all at once. And he said to me, he goes, you recognize this character's anger, don't you? And nobody had ever said that to me in my life. Nobody had ever said that to me. He was the first person that had ever said that to me. And I was about like 26 years old or something like that. And that was the first time that I actually felt like somebody saw who was the core, like the actual real core of myself, and not the front that I put up, or not anything that I did to make people think they were seeing me. This guy saw like the core of me, like he just cut straight to it. And I just had like this huge wave of emotion come up, and he's like, do some push-ups. So I did like 10 push-ups, and I got up and I just felt like this wave of like zen wash over me. And I went and like, I was having difficulty remembering my lines, having difficulty remembering punctuation. And where I did these push-ups, and I had like this wave of Zen wash over me. And I did that scene, and it was the best I'd ever acted in my life. Like, it was such a heightened level of concentration. And I remembered everything. I remembered every single line. I remembered my accent. I remembered all the punctuation. And it was just like this explosion of emotion and energy that just came pouring out of me. And so, yeah, we got through the scene, and everyone was like, whoa, what the hell was that? Because, like, I even had somebody say to me afterwards, they were like, oh, I felt so sorry for you because I thought, like, this is it. This is going to break him as an actor. He's never going to recover from this. And then, I don't know, he found something deep inside of me, something that I didn't even realize was there. And he brought that out of me. And to be honest, that saved me. That saved me as an actor, and it saved me as a person. And we were sitting there, and he sort of like gave us both some feedback. And I couldn't remember any of the feedback because I was like in such shock from like everything going white. And I spoke to him afterwards, and he like gave me some feedback, and we had a day to prepare it. And I remember I was like so stressed for that 24 hours, like trying to prepare it, because I felt embarrassed. Like, I was fucking embarrassed, and like I embarrassed myself in front of like so many people who, you know, are important here, and I embarrassed myself, and like I was so fucking furious about that. And yeah, so I went in the next day, like I watched everyone do their scenes, and I was like trying to make as many notes as possible, and whilst I was like trying to work on my own scene during the time. And I remember there was just like this moment, the workshop had finished up for the day, and it was about like 4:30. I'm sitting over in Kelvin Grove, and I'm like looking over at my script. And I remember prior to this moment, every time that I would read like acting textbooks or acting manuals, or people would try and explain acting to me, there was always something that was kind of, I feel like I was understanding like only 60 to 70% of it. Like there was an extra 30% that was missing, or there was like a missing piece to acting. And I remember sitting there in Kelvin Grove, and I was looking over my lines, and everything clicked. All of a sudden, I felt like I understood acting. I felt like I understood how to be an actor, how to prepare for a role. Like I felt like I understood everything, and like I'm in a moment of clarity. And so the rest of the day passed by, and I went in the next day and to do my scene. And I remember I was absolutely shitting myself. And I was trying to blame, like I went up to the guy who sort of like allocated all the scene partners. And I said to him, I was like, don't you ever partner me with this person again, because it's all their fault that, you know, that I didn't perform the best that I possibly could do. And he just said to me, he's like, you're just scared at the moment. He's like, come back and talk to me in 2 weeks, and we'll see how you feel then. And so I remember we both got up to do the thing again, and we had like 2-3 takes, and we were both like so nervous. We were like both like, okay. And he said, he stopped us twice, and the third time he was like giving us some feedback, and he said something to me, and I sort of like moved back from it, and he's like, there you go, just follow your acting impulses. He's like, just follow your impulses. And I was like, okay, cool. And so we did the scene, and it was like a 15-minute scene, whole thing, best I ever acted. And at the end of the scene ends with, and these two characters, since they meet in a bar, he's like really coked up, and he's like really angry about stuff. And the scene ends with her grabbing a glass and like breaking it over his head. And she storms off. And like every time that we'd done that, she just sort of like hit me with like the glass, and I was like, oh no, I've been struck, and, you know, overacting. And yeah, we did the scene, and it was just fucking electric, man. Like it was just fucking electric. And we ended the scene. She picks up the glass. It was fake glass. But yeah, she picks it up and just went bam and fucking stabbed me in the neck. And like she like stabbed me so hard that it shattered. And then after that, he asked me like a few things about like my personal life, because he saw like that core of me. And yeah, so like I unloaded like 25 years worth of like emotional baggage, like right there and then. And like I was bawling my freaking eyes out. But I needed to do that. Like I really needed to do that, because I let all of that stuff out and I was like, okay, cool. And I realized I could do it. I realized I could be an actor. I realized everything sort of seemed to make sense to me. And so that was the first year. I'm sorry, that was a very long-winded story.
No, it was great, man.
Thank you. Sorry.
It was a brilliant story.
Thanks.
Really just exponential period of growth, and letting go of what you were holding on to for a long period of time that was probably holding you back as a person in life and a person as a performer as well. And
100%.
The best acting coaches, the best people that can see through that and a sensitivity to what you're going through and help you mold yourself with that and use it as a tool rather than a hindrance, is why he has the name that he has, the reputation that he does, and works with the people that he does. And sounds like you got a hell of a lot from that, to say the least, really. You just said it, you just explained it all perfectly. And, I could only sit back there and listen to that and just go, wow, I wish I went through that. I wish I went through my own journey within that class, and it really encouraged me. And I hope the other actors or performers or anyone that listens to this to look inside yourself and challenge yourself and go out there and put it on the line, because if you don't, you're not living, and you're not going to grow. You're not going to be better at life, be better as a performer, and be, the best version of yourself if you don't put yourself out there, and really put your all into everything you do.
Yeah. And 100%. And like, I think if you want to be an actor, like, I think you have to face that stuff inside. And like, and I mean, sometimes you don't even realize that stuff is there. And yeah, like I said, it changed my life. Like I even said it to him like right there and then. I was like, yeah, it changed my life. Because to be honest, and I said this to him at that workshop, I said this in a room of about like 60, 70 people. I said to him, I was like, I didn't think I was going to live. And I said to him, I was like, I just knew that there was going to be, I was like, no matter how tough I am up here, I was like, there is going to be one day there. I was like, there's just going to be one day where I'm just going to have like one really bad day and the dam's going to break and that'll be it. And at that point in time, I couldn't tell you like when it was going to happen, but I knew it was going to happen at that point in time. And so that first workshop, it healed me as a person. And so I went back for the second workshop, and I was out to prove something. That second time, because Larry says a lot in his book and in his classes. He's like, you've got to honor the writer. He's like, you have to honor the writer. And he's like, when you're given a script, everything in that script is there for a reason. That word was chosen for a particular reason. That comma was chosen for a particular reason. That stage direction was there for a particular reason. And he's like, everything is there for a reason. And he's like, you as an actor, it's your job. It is your first job to honor the writer. And he said that to me when I wasn't picking up on the full stop. He said to me, and the thing that really got me was he said to me, you're not honoring the writer. And he's like, that's your job as an actor. So basically what he was saying to me and how I took it was, he's like, you're not being an actor because you're not honoring the writer. And I wanted to be an actor since I was 16. Excuse me. And I took that freaking personally. And so when I signed up for the second one, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prove that I'm an actor, that I fucking deserve to be an actor. And I was like, I always knew I was talented as an actor. Like I knew I sort of had a knack for it, but I was like, no, fuck it. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to fucking prove who I am as an actor. And I was like, I'll fucking show him and I'll fucking prove it to myself as well that I can do this. And so I had a job at the time, so I quit my job. I was living up here in Brisbane. So I got rid of my place here in Brisbane. I moved back in with my parents, and we only had 2 weeks to prepare this scene, and it was from a play called Danny in the Deep Blue Sea. And so we had 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks to do the scene. So yeah, I quit my job. I moved out of my house. I went back to my parents' house, and I spent every waking moment for that 2 weeks working on that scene. And I was always like, I'm going to fucking honor the writer. And it was a fucking fantastic writer. It was by a guy called John Patrick Shanley, who did the movie Moonstruck. Did you ever see the movie Doubt?
No, I don't think I know that one. Yeah.
But yeah, he's written like a lot of movies and a lot of plays and stuff. He's a fucking fantastic writer. But again, it was a play about very much a play about anger and like about explosive levels of anger. And I sort of had a bit of a wry chuckle when I got given the script, because there's actually there's like a 2-minute monologue in the scene. It was a 35-minute. I sort of felt like he was like giving me a bit of a cheeky dig in the ribs to be like, okay, well, you talked a big game last time. How are you going to back this up? Because the last scene we did was about 15 minutes, and this scene was like 35 minutes.
Wow.
And just 2 people on stage for 35 minutes. And it goes from, again, 2 people meeting in a bar. And the best way I can describe it is just 2 very damaged and broken people meeting in a bar and connecting over their common pain, if that's the best way I can. Yeah. And so yeah, guy and a woman, but the guy in it, he does like a 2 to 3 minute monologue about how he was at a party the night before, and he got into a fight, and he talks a lot about how he's always had like anger issues. But in this monologue, he talks about how he actually beat somebody up so badly that he actually thinks he's killed them. And at that point in time, I was still like detoxing like a lot of anger. I'd gotten back into, I don't know, like I got back to playing rugby because I loved playing rugby when I was a kid. And I was like, I felt like it came along at the right point in time in my life, because I was trying to release a lot of that anger through playing rugby. And I remember the night that I received the script, I'd been playing rugby, and I remember I tried to tackle someone that night, and I smashed my jaw like straight into their knee and like cracked my jaw. And like I remember the moment that it happened, that I was like, oh fuck, this is bad. Because I collapsed on the ground. I tried to get back up, and I just like collapsed back over, like everything on my left hand side of my body went numb. And I just like collapsed back on the ground. But I was so fucking angry about stuff that despite the fact that I just like suffered a very serious head injury, I got back to my feet and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to keep playing. And I played the rest of that game. And I received the script for Danny in the Deep Blue Sea just after I played that game. And yeah, so I thought it showed up at like the perfect time in my life. So I spent 2 weeks working on it, went to the workshop, and again, he was really stressing about the one, honoring the writer, but he's also like, honor yourself as well. Because yeah, he's like, you're the canvas that will paint everything, will be all the characters that you want to be. And he's like, so So make peace with yourself. Do what you need to do to love yourself again and to put yourself in the best possible position to be able to be an actor, because it's like, you know, being an actor, you're so passionate about it, and it's like you got to honor yourself. Like honor yourself, then honor the writer, and do the work.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we went through, we did the scene, and we did it both days. And I remember, again, that was like, I remember the second time we did it. Yeah, that was just like another one of those moments where I felt like, and there's those moments where you feel like you're acting really, really well. And then there's sometimes those moments where you feel like you like step into like another fucking dimension or something like that. Like you transcend
Yeah, for sure.
something like a state of hyperfocus or something. And yeah, I felt like I went there for like the second run through of it. And I remember like it stopped and everyone was just like, it was silent. It was just like dead silent in the theater. And Larry talked to my scene partner, and then he spoke to me, and I don't know, he said a few things. He was kind of like, he's like, you know, that was technically proficient. He's, I don't know. To be honest, I can't actually really, at this point in time, I can't quite recall what he said. Yeah. But at the end of it, he said to me, he's like, you understood the script. And he said that in like the most offhanded way, but that was like the biggest fucking compliment. Like I grinned just like Luna Park. I was like, fuck yeah. Like that was the compliment that I'd been gunning for. Yeah. And I was grinning from ear to ear. And then he says to me, for God's sake, fucking talk to somebody. And I was like, oof. But yeah, so that was my experience.
No, that's fantastic, man. And just hearing you say and talk about this in depth, obviously we've spoken about a lot of things in depth over the years, and you've let go a lot of things, but this is definitely a time that I think, and especially the growth period from what you've just spoken about from your first Larry Moss class to your second one, but the growth as a person and the balanced nature of your mindset. If ever a time as a performer, that's I think you seem like you're in a very balanced state now. Like you're getting to a point where you're understanding yourself a lot more. You're understanding as a person and what you're trying to do and what you would like to do in your life, and it's translating across in your performances as a performer. And the characters you're playing, and you're taking on challenging roles and maybe walking away with it with something, learning things from yourself, and actually, you know, being more satisfied with what you're doing. With, I would say in times before, you're probably pretty harsh on yourself, which we all can be as a performer. And I know that 100% as myself. I'm my own worst critic, you know, and man, there's a lot of growth here in what you just said, especially that first story with Larry. That was terrific, man. And
thank you.
I think you're in a good place now with what you're moving forward with your life and with your future as a performer and as a man, you know. And I'm excited for you and excited to see what you're going to do with your future, and I'm really excited to see Western culture, obviously, as well. But
can I just say thanks very much for like listening to that, because like I know it's there's a lot of information to take in, but I just want to say thanks very much for like inviting me on and like listening. Because I know it's not something you can like really bring up in like casual conversation, but no, thank you.
But I think that's the beauty of the podcast, or this podcast, is that performers or anyone that's listened to it can take something away from that. I know I have just listening to you, man. I feel more relaxed in what I've done, which is odd to say and see, but that's just what the beauty of these things are. You're getting information, you're getting really real life stories from people that are real and are being real on this, and that's the whole idea of it, is that this is completely unedited, unscripted. It's just casual conversation that's going along, and we're talking about your journey and mine, and how we relate to and how our worlds collide, you know, within this industry and within this life that we're all, you know, living along with. So, and that's the beauty of it as a performer. But is there anything else you would like to leave with or say, or?
No, not really, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've recently started up a business as a hypnotherapist. So, I figure I might as well give a plug for the masterkeyhypnosis.com.au. That's my business. Been training for about 2 years as a hypnotist. All mind stuff.
Yeah.
I just, I think I just basically want to end this with like, I think Brisbane needs people who are passionate about their craft and like passionate. Yeah, I know. I really want to see the Brisbane arts scene, particularly with film and especially with theatre. Like, I really want to see that grow. I want to see more plays being put on. I want to see more like really good actors coming out of Brisbane. And I know, I just hope people can get like really excited about their acting, because I think it's a treasure, you know. I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to call yourself an actor. And I know I want people to be proud, you know, be like, I'm an actor.
Hey, now if any time it's the most lucrative per se time and the most opportunic time to be doing this. I mean, with the pandemic, there's a blessing and a curse with it all, and there's a lot of unfortunate things going on. But the best thing is there's a lot of productions coming here now because we can shoot and we're up and running. And it's awesome to be a part of that and to get on it. But now's the best time to do it. And your opportunities are there and they're one to seize right now. So use your power and use it wisely. But
100%,
this we can all do together, you know, and that's what we're all working together towards. So it's a beautiful thing. But thanks for coming on, brother. It's been a pleasure, man.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks. Righto, guys, that's us. We're out.
Right. Thanks very much.
Woo! Did it. Another podcast in the can. And I promise I will not do that again. Absolutely thrilling conversation. Really, really fascinating stuff, especially everything that Andrew was speaking about, his personal breakthroughs and his performance breakthroughs that he did with the Larry Moss workshop. I just sat there just taking it all in. I hope you guys really enjoyed it because I know I got a lot from it. And as performers, I think, we all know what it takes to strip everything down and build ourselves back up. So there was a lot of that throughout the podcast. And we all know that as performers, it's just part of the job. Absolutely love what we're doing with the podcast. Guys, I really, really appreciate you listening. I hope you're loving the content. A lot more to come. We're going to keep doing it. New year, new logo. Please subscribe, follow us, like, share, anything you can do to help promote the podcast and keep it up. I'll be forever grateful for that. And we're just going to keep doing it, you know. New year, let's do this. Let's get it. Let's go, team.